last week I didn't cover this sort of big news that happened. MLB The Show 24 announced it in 25. There will be no sets and seasons. Basically meaning that every card's going to be playable from day one through day whatever. And now we're kind of going to look through it because, again, I didn't really talk about it at the time. One, I was sick. And two, I didn't want it to overshadow actual Season 4 finest content, which I think took the front. So today, we're going to talk about sort of where we are right now in 24. And then we're going to look back on a past time from 3 years ago with seasons programs from MLB The Show 21 because 22... I think 22 is sort of like the beginning of this stuff. So I want to look at sort of the original last like inning program thing. And then we'll kind of even look to MLB The Show 22 and sort of show the first sort of like coalition of everything and all that stuff. So there's a lot to get to, but we're going to try to make it as entertaining as possible because I think this stuff's ultimately going to change how we play the game. So let's get into it. So right now in the game, again, this is all finest. And so let's talk about the actual program. So this is season 4. So this is, instead of it being, there were 4 seasons each, about 3 months, I guess. And this one lasts forever. There is no something after this. I don't know if they're going to add to it because this seems really, really short. So there's a chance they may add to it. But for all we know, this is it. It's game over. There's not really going to be a whole bunch to add after it. Granted, I guess if we do go back to the home and the schedule thing, I'm going to disappear for a second. There is this like Winter Wonderland and stuff that's coming next week. So this week's going to be very dead for the most part. Which again makes sense. It's a very short work week here in the States because of Thanksgiving. We're only most places will be operational today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then they're not coming back till Monday. And then we're basically, this is the weird time on the calendar because we basically have 2 major holidays back to back. So essentially we're only back for 3 weeks and then gone again for probably another week and a half. It's going to be bedlam. So this is what we're looking at now. So in terms of the program, so this is, season 4 reward path. And what we were looking at here is this for an extended period of time. And again, it was a lot of you get the cards and all this stuff. We sort of go along. We went at this ad nauseum. And there's some good stuff in here, ending with, Bobby Witt Jr., a really good card. So the boss cards essentially might have been, I guess, Jose, Bobby Witt, and Canley. For all we know, I don't know. There really wasn't anything, but they're the last 3 cards. So let's just assume it was them. That is those 3 guys with the sprinkling of Cycle. Nolan Arenado is sort of like here's a freebie. For reasons, I suppose. Now, realistically, let's talk about what sets and seasons were. So seasons kind of segmented the game. So essentially, season 1 might have been part 1. Basically, it was the first third of the game, first fourth, the first quarter of the game, if you will. So you collected all those cards, and then, as you see, I didn't finish it. I'm probably going to buy it just so I can get Satchel Paige, but you could get Willie Mays. You get Satchel Paige. You got good old George Brett. So for collecting season 1 cards to get them. And then again, we move on to season 2. Sort of the same shtick here. You collect cards as you go to get Frank Thomas, Bob Gibson, and Derek Jeter were cards that you could ultimately get by finishing that. And the same thing with season 3. Which we just finished, if you did them all. You got Randy Johnson here, good card, Lou Gehrig, and Ricky Henderson. So those were kind of the set rewards, or the season. Sets was just more of a way of sort of dividing this stuff. It was a fascinating thing. I think it handcuffed things a little bit. Why? Well, there's something... I'm trying to word this correctly. There's something to me when you're looking at this and sort of organizing it here. When it comes to set, so I don't necessarily mind a season thing, but the set thing was annoying because all it was an organization of something that necessarily didn't need to be organized. Because you had seasons, all you had to say was, hey, here's season 1, here's season 2, season 3. the sets finite everything into a box where it was like, here's set 1. So here were all the set 1 cards that are in the market. So you got, here's set 1. Now, were there some good cards that went? Yeah, there were some pretty decent cards in set 1 that were unusable for a solid amount of time, which led to a lot of duplicates. I didn't pick Lars Nootbaar on purpose to prove a point, but I just stopped on him. He was a duplicate, right? So there was like, Lars Nootbaar. We had another 99 Lars Nootbaar. There's cards that just got duplicated all hell on back. And that was probably the biggest complaint I had with this, like the sets format, because it locked things into one specific thing, seasons or whatever, because if you want to organize things organizationally, hey, that's all fine and dandy. That makes a little bit of sense. So at least when we're flipping through binders and stuff, hey, when did that card come out? Oh, it was a season 1 card. So it was like in April, and it was really good. And you're looking for that card specifically. It could make things a little bit easier to find organizationally, but the season thing, the sets thing, again, sort of was like, kind of puts you in this weird bubble of A to B, and once B was out, you had to reset it. And it really hit hard at the end of 1 and 2, because we basically had to start from 0 again. Now, on the flip side of this is, if that's gone, well, what are we going to switch over to? So now I found a video from my channel, MLB The Show 21, and I want to take the time here. I'm going to mute it just so I can talk over it and not fight with my past self. But this is what the season program looked like. It was about 30 days, so essentially a battle pass, and you would get... I turned it off. You would get, there's uniforms in there, there's packs in there, there's stuff in there, and then you would get the bosses. Now, the bosses are what's behind on the thing. It was a Mike Piazza, Fernando Valenzuela, and a Kenny Lofton. Now, these cards at the time, I want to say, were in the high 80s-ish, or 91. They might have been 91. I think they were 91s. Now, they are 91s. Now, the downside of this is you only got 1. You could only get 1 boss card, but I think you get the 3 henchmen, is what, if I recall correctly, or it might have been 1 and 1. I don't really remember. But this sort of shortened things down to a point where it was like, okay, now we're kind of working. And then, us content creators would tell you which one's the best one in our opinion. And then you could always pick them up. This was the year I spent some money on the game, at least to like the 5th inning program. I don't suggest doing that. It just made things rough. But that's how it was back then, is you get, bosses. Do I click on the bosses thing, or do I just talk about it? Because that'd be nice if I did. But again, there are these missions and stuff. This is something I do miss. The missions and stuff to get XP, where it was like Cubs innings from a pitcher, holds and exchanges. That made things easier to get, some of these daily, because they were just daily missions that you come in, you can knock them out, because if you're roar playing every day, you might not necessarily have been playing every day, but you could do those stuff and knock some stuff out while you're doing it, because it would move you along. Now, was it a lot of XP? Not really. I don't remember. I don't see what it was, but let's say, let me turn my camera off really quick. It should say there 75. So like you got a fair amount of just doing stuff. So it could have been way worse than what it was here. I'm just going to sort of scoot along here. And then there was a first inning collection where you got, I'm looking at the video, you got 50K. So I don't truly know if this is where we're going to go back to. Are we going back to, inning programs, which for the record, I'm kind of on board with the whole notion of maybe going back to that, because the whole thing is at least with inning programs, it was finite and we knew when it was going to end, when it was going to begin. Really. And that's how it was in MLB The Show 20, which was my first real MLB The Show game in years. I want to see something. This is no. Did I not do anything for MLB The Show 22? I didn't do a. That's funny, because I want to see what MLB The Show 22 was, and I'd rather show my stuff. Let's see. We're gonna do a quick search here. I might not have. I very well might not have, which might have been a bad thing, Because let's see. Because I just want to see if there was. I just won't remember what the actual things were. Because if they were. Because I know that's when everything kind of got segmented, right? Into sort of like one program, right? So let's take a gander. I'm just going to keep yapping. But they could truthfully just fix something into something else. It being some sort of weird combination of set the season, but they said it's gone. So let's assume that they're going back to it. Is that good or bad? That's going to be good for the game. It's going to shorten things because it's how most games are going to be operating anyway. They're going to be in a position to where now things aren't going to be forced upon the player base. I shouldn't say the player base. I won't be. It's not gonna be putting players in a position to know that it's gonna go away, which I think is pretty good. Because if you know that a card you get, because they're gonna be 99, so let's say you get a 99 kind of early on, and you can use that card later. I think that's a dub in my mind. Not everyone might agree with that statement, but I think that's a win in and of itself, and who knows? But ultimately, I don't know what we're gonna do or what we're gonna see as things go forward, move on in a new direction. I think we're getting information, which I think is just better than not getting information, because we're only in November. So if the game is really sort of like winding down, we might get information sooner and sort of see how things start to turn out. But ultimately, that's where we are. So we know what's not coming. We don't necessarily know what's going to be replaced with. Again, we're sort of making assumptions at this point, but speculation sometimes good, because then it kind of sees where we're going and where we're not going. Now, ultimately, I do think we might see sort of the return of inning programs and more of a slow build up to 99s, which again, is that bad? No. Or we might see the return sort of how MLB The Show 21 was, where it was sort of like the game artificially kind of split itself into half, where all stars were first half finest and then finest came at the end. So that might be where we're going. I don't know. At this point, we sort of just know what's not going to be there, and sometimes that's just good enough. So let me know down below what you think. Do you want inning programs to come back where it's just, I mean, heck, if it is inning programs, they could even say like, hey, we're going to give you the 3 bosses, because I think at this point, them sort of getting that out, it'd be weird to go back to the old way of, hey, you get to choose one, you got to pay for the rest of them. I don't think that's necessarily going to change. So maybe they extend it and just be like, hey, it's going to be 45-ish days, but you get all the stuff, similar to like how Fortnite is, where it's like you can get them all, and then you have a fair amount of time. We'll see. Let me know down below. Do you remember any programs? Some of you guys might have honestly just jumped on board during sets and seasons, and you don't remember it. Who knows? But this is a conversation. This is where we'll be going. Videos later this week might be a little bit weirder. I think I'm going to do my update video, my yearly sort of like where we're going, how the year was later this week. Because it's Thanksgiving, so that might be the Wednesday video or Friday video. I'm going to record it this week, and we'll sort of see how things go. There should be more streams over on Twitch. Again, it might not be on the show related because there's not a lot going on in the show, but we'll talk about some future plans and some stuff for the channel later this week. So leave a like if you like it, dislike if you like it. My name is Specs. I'll see you guys all next one.